All right, so in math, we're kind of changing direction here. So we do not want to forget about our discount, our tax, our tips, our commission, our interest, because that is something that is a life skills thing, something that you're going to need to know for the future when you're out on your own as an adult. So we'll be kind of throwing that in here and there, but we are going to kind of move on to some geometry, which is one of my favorite things. I love this. So we're going to kind of start with our points, lines, and angles, and then go from there into some different polygons, and then doing area and perimeter and things like that. But first we have to take some notes and just get to know what is a point, the different kinds of lines, the different kinds of angles. So what you will need to do, you'll either need to print out your note template, or you could just get a piece of paper and write these on a paper, but have them because they're going to be something that you're going to be able to refer back to anytime that you need them, okay? All right, so we are going to start with the word point. So our definition is this. Okay, so the definition of a point is a location in space represented by a dot. So you have a dot, and it could be named any letter of the alphabet, but the letters, all of the letters that we are going to be using with these will always be capital. Okay, so this is point A. But again, you can name it any point of the alphabet. There are some letters that are good to kind of stay away from, but they could be any of those letters. So that's our first term and definition. So point, a location in space represented by a dot. Okay, so our next term is line. Okay, so for line, it is a collection of points that extend forever in the same direction. If it is a line, it is very, very, very important that it has the arrows, because that means that it's going to go on forever. So it has to have the arrows on the end. Now there could be a collection of points. So I can have a point here and a point here. Okay, so again, I always use capital letters. So this is line AB. So another way to write this is like this, line AB. Now this could also be called line BA. Okay, so you can have either one, A or B, first. They just have to be capitalized. Now you can have points in the middle. I can have point C and point D in the middle that fall on this line. So it doesn't just have to be the 2 points here. There could be many points. There has to be at least 2 though, so that you can name it. So this would be line AB or line BA. And again, it has to have those arrows. All right, so that's super important. Okay, our next word or our next term is array. Okay, so array is a collection of points that begin at one point and extend forever in one direction. So it has a beginning point, and then it's going to extend forever in one direction. So this, and again, I do want to tell you, like, so these could be, oh, except I don't, okay, I have to keep my endpoint with it. Okay, so these could be, I always tend to draw them the same way, but these can go any direction. So just because I always tend to maybe draw something the same way every time, that doesn't mean, I mean, they could go any direction at all, okay? So now this one is super important. So I have A here, and I'm going to put B here. Now this is not like the line. You cannot switch them. Because there is an endpoint, the A has to go first. So we would call this Ray A B. Okay? And you cannot call it Ray B A. The endpoint has to be first, and then it will go on forever. So it's not, you can't switch them like you could with the line. Okay? So that is a ray. Next, we have line segment. Okay, so a line segment is just part of a line. It has two endpoints. And again, I'm going to try to draw them different ways because I always tend to draw them just straight across, but I want you to realize they can go any direction. So it's, this one has two arrows. This one has one arrow, one endpoint. This one has two endpoints. And again, I could use any letter of the alphabet. I'm just sticky with the A and the B right now. So how you would do this is line segment AB or line segment BA. So when you do this one, you cannot have any arrows on that at all. And this is kind of like the line though, where you can kind of switch it. It could be AB or BA. Okay, so it's just part of a line. It doesn't go on forever. So that's why we have those endpoints there. Okay, next, now we're going to get into some different kinds of lines here. So first we're going to talk about parallel lines. A lot of times I refer to these as like train tracks, and you'll see why here in a minute. Okay, so two lines that are exactly the same distance apart. They will never meet, they will never cross. So that's why I call like railroad tracks, because if your railroad tracks start going together or start growing apart, that train's going to have a problem. It's going to fall off the track. So they will never cross, they will never meet, they're exactly the same distance apart. And they are lines, so we're going to keep those arrows. So again, these lines could go this way, they could go up and down, they could go diagonal, so they could go any direction. They just always have to stay the same width apart, the same distance apart. Okay, so those are parallel lines. Okay, we're getting closer. We just got a couple more to go through. Okay, so next we have intersecting lines. So this is the opposite of the parallel lines. So very simply, they are lines that meet or lines that cross. And they will only ever cross in one place. Okay, they will never cross more than once. And again, it could be those lines could go, they could be any like angle, direction. If they cross, they're intersecting lines. Okay? Now, there is a very special type or kind of intersecting lines. Intersecting lines are just lines that cross. But if they cross in a certain way, they are called perpendicular lines. Okay, so they are lines that cross and they make 4 right angles, which means all angles are the same size. We're going to get into the right angles and different kind of angles a little bit later this week. So if we look at these angles, they are not the same size. These two are kind of small. These two are kind of big. So these will cross and make 4 angles exactly the same size. Okay, so all 4 of these angles, and when we talk about right angles, we're going to get to that, like I said, a little bit later. Those are different notes that we're going to get to. If you put the corner of a piece of paper in there, they're going to be exact. You could fit that corner of your piece of paper exactly in there, and they will all be exactly 90 degrees. So again, that's a little preview for a little bit later on. So as you can see, these do not make 4 angles exactly the same size. These do. And again, I always draw them exactly straight across, straight up and down, because it's easiest to make them. Let's see if it'll let me. But they could be that way. They could be that way. So I do want you to realize they will not always maybe be exactly straight up and down, straight across. It's just easiest for me to draw them that way. But they can't, as long as all 4 angles are right angles, you can put the corner of your piece of paper in there, then those are perpendicular. Okay, so those are the notes for today. I do have a worksheet that I want you to do. I love this unit, but the one bad thing, especially like being remote, you're gonna have to draw things, or maybe write them with certain symbols. And you cannot always do that on a Google form or on the computer. So there may be some things where you're gonna have to print it out, do the work on it, take a picture of it, send it back to me through email or whatever. Or if you can't print it out, at least do what it says and like number them and then draw what you need to draw, or write it with the right symbol, and then take a picture of it, send it back to me. And I'm sorry about that. I always try to keep everything where you could do it on the computer, but some of these you just can't. So just kind of be aware of that. You will have a worksheet to do along with these notes, just kind of a little practice with them. So be on the lookout for that. And again, there may be some where there's not going to be a Google form attached, and you're just going to have to do some out on paper and maybe take a picture of it and get that sent back to me in email. Okay? So hopefully this is going to make more sense as we go along. Make sure you keep these notes. These are the reason we take notes, is because we can look back on them and read them and see our pictures, and then it will remind us what they are. So we will see you again.